I've taken the tow bar off my RAV4. I had a look underneath it and I found that it was completely rotten. The brackets here, you can see where they've just rotted away. And the flakes of metal were just plain to see, so it's not safe to tow anything. And this is the main part. Now this, despite the rust here, it's very solid. I've already hit it as hard as I can with hammers, and it all seems to be recoverable. I've already started getting all the surface rust off, and I'm using the twisted wire brush on my angle grinder, and it's coming off quite nicely. You can see the remnants all around. There are parts here that I can save. This part's fine. This part's fine. They're not too structurally important, and the surface rust won't make a big difference. So this part here, this bolts onto the side just there. So you can see that's structurally important for the strength of the towing arm. So when I put it back on, I'll make a video so I can show you where all the bolts go. There's a couple of hidden bolts which took me an age to find. So here's the other side. This one's in better condition, but it's still terribly worn. You can see here how thin that is. You can see it flaking away. So what this is good for is a template. So I'll just cut two pieces out here. I can get two side pieces out of this piece of metal here. I've got another bit underneath. Then I'll make two longitudinal struts out of this piece here. Once I've got the two pieces, I'll just weld them together there, and I'll use this as a template to make sure I get all the holes in the right place and it's the right size. So I'll get on with that and I'll show you how I get on later. I'm almost complete with the side parts of the tow bar. I think you can see here how I've done it. I've used a cutting disc to cut all the straight lines, and then when I've come to the curve, I've drilled lots of holes and then cut in between the holes, and it's turned out really well. So here's the first one that I did, and I did the same here. I just cut out a load of small holes, joined them up. I've got to finish this off because it's a bit untidy at the moment. And the difference here is I went around the edge with my cutting disc, which took a very long time. When I drilled the holes like this and just cut into the holes, that took no time at all. And cleaning that up with the grinder disc will be a relatively easy job compared to the larger job of cutting these straight lines. So the next part of this job is to drill out these holes, clean up all the edges, and then I've got to construct two cross members like this. That's relatively simple because it's all straight edges. Following that, I just need to weld the two pieces together like this, and that'll be this part of the tow bar complete. I'm at this stage now. I've drilled the little holes. I've cut in between the holes to create the curve. I did that on this edge here, and I've already started cleaning that up. A little bit more cleaning to go on there. What I'll do now is I'll just round those off with the grinder and clean up these edges here. So it's quite easy to grind it back to the line that I drew on there. And I've got a nice finish there. Just got a little bit more to do here. Once I've finished all of this, I'll get back to you. Tell you what, it's hard going trying to get through this 8mm steel, but I'm getting there, and all in all it's turning out quite nicely. I'll get back to it again now. The next part of the job is to weld this bit to this bit round about here, so that it's the same as this component. I only need to be a few millimeters out and the whole thing just won't fit onto the car. So what I intend to do is to bolt this and this to the car into the existing holes. Then I'll tack weld it in place and then remove it and weld it fully. Then I'll do the same for the other piece as well. Here it is, all in place, and you've got the cross member of the tow bar here. There's a bolt that goes in this way, and here's the pieces I've made. I've put that bolt in there, put that bolt in there. Here's the 3 bolts, 1, 2, and the one over here, 3. Now there's another bracket that goes here. I'll just remove this, show you how that bracket goes. One bolt goes in the side here. This bolt goes through the 2 plates. That's it all in place. So what I'm going to do now is tack weld it here, take it all off, and then seam weld it all the way along the back of there, and it will be as solid as it possibly can be. Exactly the same thing goes on the other side. I've put some tacks in place to hold the 2 pieces together, and that'll make sure that all these holes are aligned. Next thing to do is to weld it along here. It's a broad weld, so the idea is I'll do a weld along the seam in the middle, and then I'll layer it as many times as I need to make this a complete weld between the 2 pieces of metal, and build it up to the same thickness, which is 8mm. So it's come out pretty well. I'm going to have one more pass across the top of it, and that should make it as strong as it can be. Here's the finished components. They've come up really nicely. This one here, I've got a little hole there, so I'll fill that, and that's that part of the job complete. Here's all the tow bar components cleaned up, brushed off and repainted. There's the 2 sidebars that needed completely remaking. These are components that I managed to salvage. They're perfectly fine. And the tow bar itself is just a solid piece of steel. So I'm really pleased with how that's come out. There's a couple of There's a couple of hidden bolts, one that goes straight up through there, and it's very difficult to get to in the back of the car, and I'll show you how I did that in a moment. The problem with these two bits here are the bolt goes straight up through there into the bottom of the car, and it comes out in the rear wing right in the corner where it's difficult to get to. The other thing was, as soon as you slacken the nut off this side, the whole bolt just spins around. Now there's another bolt which is about here in the bottom of the car, so what I've done to get around that is I've made this. So I've joined the bolts together. What I'm going to do is weld them on here, and then they'll just sit straight through, and that will stop the bolts from spinning around. And instead of them going from the bottom up, I'm going to make them go from the top down. The other little problem is it's so fiddly getting that in. I'm going to put a piece of metal on here, and it's just going to be like a stick to hold it, so I can just feed it into the holes. I'll show you how that goes once I've finished it. Here's the finished brackets that link the two bolts together that are going to go from the top of the rear wing quarter into the area that attaches the tow bar. So some people might accuse me of being a bit over the top with the welding, but if you'd have seen the trouble I had getting the bolt out when it started spinning around, I want to make sure that there's no way these bolts are going to spin around. Next thing to do is to put it back on. So here's the inside of the back of the car, and to get to the rear quarter you just need to remove this panel. So there's a little recess here. That comes off quite easily, and the bolts are right down here. You can see one just there shining through. And this little bracket here needs to come away from that vent. So there's the first hole, and you can just see the second hole there if I hold the camera in. Now the idea is that I use this extension here to get this into place, because trust me, trying to get it in without this extension is very difficult. I'll get on with that because I need both hands, and then I'll show you it in place afterwards. I found that this needs to be about that much longer so that I can feed it in and see where the bolt holes are, so I'm just about to lengthen this. Here's the other side of the wing quarter, and you can just see where I've put that bracket with the two bolts on it, and you can see the extension that I put on there so that I could feed it in from way up here, and that was a godsend. So that's in place, and underneath I've got the two bolts on. I'll just show you that before I move on. So here's the other side of the job. You can just see the two bolts down there, and it's much easier to put the nuts on from underneath than it is to get your hands in that small space. So the rest of it is all complete now, and that's the end of the job. So let me show you the finished job. So I'm really pleased with how it's turned out, and now I feel completely confident that I'm going to be able to tow something without it coming off. So thanks for watching, and I hope it's been useful.